Let's do the AM News now and to our first story. Following President John Mahamed's confirmation of Cabinet's approval of the 24-hour economy and accelerated development program for submission to Parliament, Presidential Advisor Augustus Gusi Tano warned public sector workers to desist from corruption. He says the success of the plan depends on how well public institutions and staff adapt. My colleague Maxwell Aklobotu was at the 24-hour economy and accelerating export development program's strategic integration workshop and files this report.
Following President John Mahamed's confirmation of Cabinet approval of the 24-hour economy and accelerated development program for submission to Parliament, Chief of Staff Julius Debra stressed that the initiative is central to driving economic growth and contribute actively to its implementation. He urged civil servants to align their operations with the policy framework.
The daunting task that confronts us is to reimagine the policy promise into an organizing framework that repositions our economy, create jobs, and build more resilient and competitive nation. But let me emphasize from the onset that no matter how visionary a policy may be, its success rises or falls on the shoulders of the civil service. This is why the 24-hour requires not only political will, but also the steady hand of a professional, dedicated, and adaptive civil service.
Presidential Special Advisor for 24-hour economy and accelerated export development, Augustus Gusi Tano, backs the call for the need for all hands to be on deck. He says the civil servants should demonstrate that it is not an obstacle to transformation.
It is the beginning of a process of alignment and joint delivery. Let us seize it with seriousness. Let us demonstrate that the civil service is not an obstacle to transformation, but its agent. Let me repeat that. Let us demonstrate that the civil service is not an obstacle to transformation, but its engine.
Also present at the event was the Governor for the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Asiama. He calls for the prioritization of practical interventions when it comes to the implementation of the program.
I want to urge that we focus on practical interventions that will make this program tangible for our ordinary Ghanaians. Interventions that will make credit to rich SMEs.
With government pushing for a 24-hour economy, all eyes will now be focused on public institutions to turn the policy into real result. Maxwell Aklobotu's report for Joy News.
Away from that, the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, is demanding an end to the renewal of mining leases for foreign firms, insisting the sector must return to Ghanaian ownership. The think tank says it is disappointed that 3 foreign-owned companies have had their leases extended with no roadmap for handing operations to locals. Adobe Asari has more.
While welcoming government's decision to cut the mining lease duration from 30 to 15 years, the Institute of Economic Affairs says it is disappointed that 3 foreign-owned companies, Newmont's Golden Limited, Gateway Exploration Limited and GBS Exploration Limited, have had their contracts extended without any roadmap to hand operations to Ghanaians. E.O. Osai is Senior Fellow of the IEA.
The Institute is also aware that 3 other mining leases were renewed at the same time without a plan to transition from foreign to local ownership. These include those of Newmont Golden Ridge Limited, Gateway Exploration Limited, and GBF Associates Ghana Limited. This is a disappointing development, as it represents yet another missed opportunity to reclaim ownership of our natural resources.
Board Chair of the IEA, Dr. Charles Mensah, says the country must resist pressure from multinational mining firms, warning that threats of disinvestment are only meant to scare Ghanaians into submission.
Now, my recommendation at that time was, why don't you let them leave and hand over the gold to the people who live here?
Why should you extend Goldfields' lease and then on top of that grant them incentives of $125 million? These companies have more money than us. And what are they trying to do? Extract more? They extract your gold, they take your money and pay no taxes. Who does that? And who agrees to that? It's about time Ghanaians wake up, because we're not going to, I mean, your generation particularly, the younger generation, you have nothing but just poverty if we keep going this way.
Now, the Mental Health Authority is warning of a growing suicide crisis, with new data showing a 40% rise in deaths last year. According to the World Health Organization, more than 720,000 lives are lost to suicide globally, caused by social, emotional, and economic difficulties. As the world marks Suicide Prevention Day, dubbed Changing the Narratives on Suicides, officials say it's time to treat suicide not as a crime, but as a cry for help. Na Moko has more in the following report read to you.
The Mental Health Authority is calling for a new approach to suicide prevention in Ghana. Speaking at a press conference to mark World Suicide Prevention Day 2025, Acting Chief Executive Dr. Eugene Dordoye stressed that suicide should no longer be treated as a crime, but as a cry for help.
The reported lives lost last year in 2023 was about 134. These are the lives lost, but we know that for every life lost, 3 to 5 times more people will attempt, and that is the unfortunate thing.
He explained that stigma and criminality have kept many people silent for years. But Ghana's 2023 decision to decriminalize suicide was a major turning point. Even so, the numbers remain stuck. 134 people died by suicide in 2024, a 40% rise from the previous year, while more than 1,000 others attempted it. In just the first half of 2025, 475 attempts were recorded.
It's very challenging to have these numbers, lose their lives from a preventable cause of death, and that is the unfortunate thing. These were in 2023. Unfortunately, we recorded up to 40% increase in 2024.
Dr. Dodoye outlined a prevention strategy focused on public education, training for frontline workers, and sustainable funding through the Mental Health Fund.
The important thing this raised is that we need to do more. We have a lot of work to do because we cannot afford to lose Ghanaians through a preventable cause of death.
The authority is also urging the media to follow World Health Organization guidelines, avoiding sensational headlines and instead amplifying stories of resilience and hope.
Now, Ghana's democracy is showing signs of strength, according to a recent West Africa Disinformation Index, which ranks the country at 57%, placing it in the moderate risk category. The study, conducted by governance-focused non-profit organization Pen Plus Bytes, highlights Ghana's resilience, noting widespread detection of disinformation and robust verification practices. On the sidelines of the report launch, Pen Plus Bytes Executive Director Jerry Sam shared the key findings that drove the country's performance. Mamafi Sefakote has more.
Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali and Burkina Faso were selected to take part in a democracy resilience study. The report revealed that all 4 countries fall within the moderate risk category, but the nature and severity of disinformation differ sharply depending on governance, media freedom, and digital penetration. Ghana stands out as the most resilient, with nearly universal detection of disinformation at 95.8% and the strongest verification practices, even though gaps remain in reporting to platforms and curbing fast-spreading digital falsehoods. Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines, Pen Plus Bytes Executive Director Jerry Sam highlighted the key findings that drove Ghana's performance.
So in Ghana, disinformation actually peaks around elections, and also when there are political activities like primaries, which is also elections, or when there are controversial policies or when there are serious reports around corruption among public officials. That is when it peaks. The key actors are political party officials and then social media influencers, who are the key actors. The key work that is being done, government is part of work being done to curb the menace, but civil society is actually leading, and then we do not support.
While Ghana leads among the four, Kweku Krobia-Sante, team lead at Fact Check Africa, says more work is needed to make the country's democracy even more robust and resilient.
Relatively, or compared to some other countries in West Africa, even on the African continent, Ghana can be seen to be an oasis of democracy, a shining light, a poster boy, however you want to put it. But it doesn't mean we don't have problems. We have very visible cracks. So how do people trust the judicial system? How fair are we, or how well are we doing in terms of rule of law, balance of power, separation of powers, checks and balances? What are people's trusts in the election management bodies, human rights institutions, accountability structures and systems in place? Those are places that I think that we still have a lot of grounds to cover. So even though we are growing, almost getting to a 60 years now, these areas need strengthening. We need to find solutions in ways in addressing them.
The report launch brought together key stakeholders, including government agencies and non-state actors from across the Sahel region. Mamavi Sefakote reporting for Joy News.
Individuals living with speech and hearing impairment have been supported with 26,500 education package by KJB District Assembly in the OT region. The package forms part of the District Assembly's 3% common fund allocation for the support of persons living with disability. We have more in this report.
The recipients of the 26,500 education package are individuals living with speech and hearing impairment. Presenting the support package to the individuals who were largely represented by their parents, the district chief executive for KJB district, Dr. Samsuraj Isaka, admonished parents not to hide children living with any form of disability, adding that given the necessary support, everyone could live their full potential. He also called on parents to use the support package for exactly the purpose for which it was provided.
We presented, a token, some amount of money to people living with disability to support them to prepare to go back to school. We know the academic year has just started. We presented to 17 of them. And fortunately for us, the caregivers and the parents were around. So we took advantage to encourage them to make sure they put the money into proper use. What we are giving them is not the school fees. We know the school, the basic schools we don't take, SHS we don't take any fees, but we are just giving them this to support them by the needed items the children will need in order to go to school. So I also encourage them to not, try to hide these kids. Sometimes what we know is that because of the pressure and then the stigma from the society, parents more often would want to hide people living with disability. But we know, disability is not inability. Some of them are capable. We have a very good example here from KJB here where we encourage the parent, and she went through and now she's holding a degree and teaching in the BA.
Some of the parents have expressed their appreciation to the Assembly for the support. In related development, the Assembly has also organized health education on sexually transmitted infection and non-communicable diseases to persons living with disability. Isaac Robson-Klu is the head of social welfare and community development for KJB district.
It has become necessary to organize this program for persons with disability just because of the alarming rate of STD, STI in the district, and also the outbreak of typhoid in the region as a whole. So it is very important to organize this program for them because they are the section of the most vulnerable people in the district. So we need to educate them so that they be able to prevent. As we said, the prevention is the best cure. They'll be able to prevent access to the disease.
Now, some persons with disabilities in Ghana are intensifying calls on government to urgently ratify the African Disability Protocol, presenting a petition to the Infantiman Municipal Assembly. The Women and Children with Disability Advocacy movement stressed that the delay undermines their rights and economic survival. They also demanded the reinstatement of the toll booth operations to fulfill government's employment commitment to persons with disabilities. Abigail A.L. Nkrumah reports.
The Women and Children with Disability Advocacy movement in Infantiman Wodam operates on the theme Women and Girls with Disabilities, our quest to Ghana's ratification of the African Disability Protocol. The 2-year-old advocacy group, led by its president, presented a petition to the Infantiman Municipal Assembly to ask for the ratification of the African Disability Protocol in Ghana. Juliana Efia Mahmood, the executive director of Voices of Women and Children with Disabilities in Ghana, details some of the challenges faced by women and girls with disability.
Looking at the protocol, 15 countries in Africa has ratified it, but the initial stage started from Ghana here. But as of now, the government of Ghana hasn't ratified it yet. But during the World Disability Summit in Germany this year, the government made a commitment that by December he will be ratifying the protocol. But as of now, we've not seen any efforts that has been put up to show that in December the protocol is going to be ratified. So that is why we are adding our voices to Women with Disability Advocacy movement in Infantiman to ensure that the government ratifies it as soon as possible.
Receiving the petition on behalf of the Municipal Chief Executive of Infantiman, the Coordinating Director for Infantiman, Justice Amwa, assured the group their petition will be heard.
We hope that the President will have a listening ear and then do the needful, and the MPs will also deliberate upon it in Parliament, so that they will also include it in the laws of Ghana as the Constitution. Now we are doing the Constitutional review. We are hoping that it will also find its way into the Constitutional Review Committee's recommendation and then implementation.
The president of Wodam, Felicity Youngson, appealed to the government to reinstate toll booth operations to create employment for persons with disability.
When it comes to the employment, we want our president to assign or approve when it comes to we the disabled. We don't have any job opportunity due to our condition. So with the help, we want the president to bring the toll booth back so that we the disabled can get work to do.
From Salt Pond, Abigail A.L. Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
Well, for several years, the teaching and learning of science have been impeded at Yasantua Girls Senior High School in the Ashanti region due to the dilapidated nature of the only chemistry laboratory there. School authorities say the poor state of the laboratory was not only an eyesore, but a dent on the image and status of a school named after the legendary Asante Queen mother and warrior Yasantua. But the narrative is changing with an initiative to refurbish the facility through an intervention of the Parents Association supported by the Kwadaso Municipal Assembly.
With a student population of over 3,500 students, Yasantua Girls SHS, the once renowned Science Resource Center, has its chemistry lab in the deplorable state. School authorities decried the poor state of the facility, a situation they say pushed many students away from the studies of science. Felicia Asamoah is headmistress of the school. According to her, the situation affected the status of the school as students and teachers shied away from learning and teaching science.
This facility has been dilapidated over a long time, and I mean a long time, and made the practical aspect of teaching and learning of chemistry very uncomfortable, especially when new students enter the chemistry lab. They become discouraged. Teachers go there and they wonder if that is Yasantua chemistry lab.
But through an intervention, students and teachers can now heave a sigh of relief as the lab is refurbished.
The refurbishment has therefore come at an opportune time and will enhance our students' learning experience, fostering curiosity and excellence in science.
It took the Parents Association of the school to initiate this capital-intensive project to refurbish the lab. Chairman of the association, Andus Chere, commended the MCE for Kwadaso, Eric Esibe, for committing funds to the refurbishment of the lab.
We went to the municipal chief executive to inform him because he is the chief administrator of the district and the government representative in this district or municipality. And he welcomed us. In fact, that day it was, I wish you were all there. And I quote his words that for me, education is key in my administration. I have not witnessed MCE who has shown so much interest in education. And she promised to help us even pay the balance to the contractor who has been worrying me.
Municipal Chief Executive for Kwadaso, Eric Esibe, assured students and teachers of his commitment to improve infrastructure in the school.
Science education, in particular, forms the backbone of national development. A well-equipped laboratory such as this is not just a building filled with instruments. It is a place of discovery, creativity, and innovation. As Municipal Chief Executive, I wish to assure you that the Kwadaso Municipal Assembly remains committed to supporting educational initiatives such as this.
Meanwhile, final year students of the Yasantua SHS have donated assorted items, including rice and cooking oil, to female inmates of the Kumasi Central Prisons. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyemi Interior reporting.
Our patrons and prospective homeowners are assured of quality and value for money as the third clinic of the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair officially opens at Good Park near the Accra Mall. The fair, which starts today through to Sunday, September 14, will see exhibitors display everything housing at an affordable and unbeatable prices. General Manager, Sales and Customer Service at Multimedia Group Limited, David Max Fuga, tells Joy Business all is set for the event.
We are a listening organizers, we are a listening business. We've factored those concerns into the planning of this year's event. And so we have encouraged our exhibitors not to sell at the market rates. And they've all agreed graciously to reduce the cost of the items on display. We'll also be there to encourage them and encourage all the other people to pass by to ensure that products and services sold there or goods and services sold there are below the market rate so that you get value for money when you come to the fair.
There was also one interesting bit about one of the exhibitors talking about smart homes. How would you collaborate with them to ensure that those who come there are able to change their homes into smart homes, and then those who need one also get one?
We are deploying volunteers at the place, and we encourage people to go the extra mile to educate the visitors on the products on display. And so when you walk in there, you'll be educated for you to make informed decisions in acquiring the things that you want to acquire. Okay, I think.
Well, let's conclude the business update with what's happening on the commodities market. That's all in our news bulletin for this morning. Up next is sports.